everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We do have a very special guest that's going to join us here in a minute, and we're going to actually I will do my best to, within the next hour, do a deep dive into some serious Biden issues that seem to be overshadowed by some other issues. And I know there are too many issues going on with existence of Biden regime, and it's not just Biden. We all know he's a puppet. Or some of us do. I shouldn't say we all do. But I was just thinking last few days, I'm like, there are certain areas that are not being touched, and they're going not unnoticed necessarily, but not as noticed as it should. And constantly with all these new news coming up, it's like too many shining objects going on. Anyways, let me stop rambling on, because what's the point? Why do I ramble on when I have one of the best experts you can find out there to actually tell us all about these issues? Joining us right now as one of my very good friends and experts on all things, I always say all things Biden family. You want to know about Biden family from day one to today? Is Jeff Cruer. He's the host of Ringside Politics. He also is the author of the book America's Last Chance, which we will talk about in a minute. Welcome to the program, Jeff.
Hey, Annie, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It is always, in a very strange way, fun to have you on, because you talk about things a lot of people either don't talk about, or don't know much about, or don't want to touch because they don't want to be labeled. So before we dive into these really big issues that are looking small, I want to talk about your book, America's Last Chance. It was published in June of 2016, which is, if my math helps, shortly here in a few months, it's going to be 8 years old of a book. But Jeff, I can't help but to think, every time I think of your book, it's like, did he look into the future? Or did he know that things aren't going to get any better at all? So let's talk about your book. Let's talk about what is this America's Last Chance, and how much closer are we to that very last chance comes November of this year compared to 2016?
Annie, when I wrote that book, I was looking at the field of candidates and looking at the choice between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And, we suffered under the 8 years of Barack Obama. I mean, we suffered terribly under his 2 terms. So we couldn't continue on with another Obama term. And this was a chance to really move in a different direction with President Trump. So I laid it out in the book, and really, it was my view that we couldn't survive another term of Barack Obama. Thank God, which Hillary Clinton would have been. It would have been Obama's 3rd term. So thank God Donald Trump won. And he gave us 4 great years with some problems, because he was surrounded by people that didn't believe in his agenda and were working against him. But he did a great job, in my opinion. And then, of course, in my view, the election was stolen from him. And I know people don't want to hear that, but in my view, it was. And then we had these horrific Biden years, which have made Barack Obama look statesmanlike in comparison. So this is really, the Biden Obama administration together, because I do think Barack Obama is pulling the strings, and he's doing things in this term that he felt he couldn't get done in his first two terms. So now we look at this upcoming election, and I believe that this is the most important date in American history, Annie, and that is November 5th, 2024, the election where we're either going to choose to be a republic or choose to be a dictatorship. And I think it's really that simple. And I think it really will be something that would be catastrophic. I don't think we can recover from another 4 years of these Biden policies, whether it be Obama, whether it be someone else pulling the strings. It has been just catastrophic in so many different ways for our country. So I could foresee what was coming, and was celebrating the victory of Donald Trump and his 4 years, and did not really even imagine back then the lengths that the other side would go to target him, to oppress him, to target us as MAGA supporters, and to make sure that they were back in power. Now I think we have a better understanding of these people that we're facing.
Very true. Now, I would say I'm not sure if we as a nation have a better understanding, because I still feel like there's a huge number of Americans who are not aware. They have not acknowledged, they hear it. Yes, I agree with you. We're on the same page. Election was stolen, no question about it. Evidence is out there at this point. I mean, all you got to do is, well, I don't know, go to frankispeech.com, right? Mike Lindell has been literally producing hard evidence every single day. But I don't think people have actually acknowledged the problem. And the reason I say that is, this is a cliche. If you don't know that, you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I feel like we're repeating 2016. And I hope the outcome ends up being as good as 2016. But I just don't see people understanding. In 2016, Jeff, our only challenge was to pick the right candidate, which was Trump. This year, we have an added conflict or problem or challenge, which is make sure that we have our votes counted. That is a secondary issue we're facing today. And I'm not sure how aware most Americans are. A lot have given up. My vote doesn't count, so I'm not going to even vote. A lot of them are like, oh, this is a stolen election. This is a myth. So what do you add to that
Well,
part?
yeah, this is a whole new dynamic that we didn't have back then, and that is the whole electoral integrity issue. And I don't think back then people were plugged into how the other side can really steal an election. And we were really introduced to it through COVID and through the ballot harvesting and the drop boxes and the mail-in ballots and the extended period, the election season, as opposed to election day, that we've sort of now morphed into. And many of these states have these same procedures in place. A gentleman just put out a report today showing that up to 18% of the voter rolls in 26 states are either people that don't exist or addresses that don't exist. So there's massive fraud as far as the voter rolls go. And that's one of the ways that Democrats manipulate the vote through the voter rolls. Here in New Orleans, where I am, we've got voter rolls that, according to a group that really analyzed it for the recall that they were doing of the mayor, up to almost a third, 33% of the voter rolls that are inaccurate. On the voter rolls were about 260,000. They say the real number is closer to 180,000. So massive problems with so many different parts of the election. So you're right. We had no conception of that back in 2016, or at least not to the degree we have now. So there's so many more things we have to take care of in this upcoming election. And my worry is that the team in place at the RNC and the people that are going to be supposedly helping Donald Trump don't have the resources, don't have the knowledge, don't have the right people in place. So I'm worried about that big time.
Agreed. And this is a pretty tragic joke, and I'm sorry for repeating it, but I found it fascinating and tragic. I had a friend of mine who contacted me a few days ago and said, she wasn't really feeling up. I'm like, something wrong. It's like, Yeah, unfortunately, my grandmother just became a Biden voter. I'm like, well, we can talk her out of it. It's like, I mean, she passed away. I was like, whoa, it's it's at a point where we can comfortably make joke about it. That there are people who have passed away, but somehow ended up in the record of voting for Biden. But since we have lots of topics to dive into, and as important as this election is, let's just ask one more question about this topic. You told me book number 2 is coming up. When
Right.
and what is it about?
Well, I'm putting the final touches on it, Annie. It's going to be a sequel to the last book, an update on a lot of the topics that I addressed in the last book, and part of that was the battle going on in the Republican Party. I'm a former executive director of the Louisiana Republican Party, former deputy chair of the Louisiana Republican Party, and I was co-chair of Donald Trump's Louisiana campaign back in 2016. So I'm pretty familiar with the divisions going on in the Republican Party. And I think it's amazing to see what has happened in the years that Donald Trump has won 3 nominations, more so than anybody else in Republican Party history except for Richard Nixon, and has become so popular with the grassroots. Yet there's such a significant segment within the Republican Party that is really refusing him to lead the party, lead the country, would prefer to see him lose and have a Democrat win than have Donald Trump be successful again. So they're incredibly spiteful and destructive toward our Make America Great Again agenda and our nominee, Donald Trump, that I think there's a lot of misconception about the real forces within this Republican Party that are very destructive and anti-Trump. And I think that's what you see going on in Congress now, Annie, as these Republicans mysteriously are resigning in the middle of a term, and we're precariously close to giving the control of the Congress to the Democrats. And then let's say Trump wins and Democrats have control of Congress. Will they certify the victory? So is this another way to try to
Let,
gain Donald Trump out
let me
of
interrupt you for
the
one
presidency?
second because I'm glad you brought this. This was literally where I was going with the next one. But since you brought it up, you just literally a few days ago published an article about this very topic. An article where you talked about the House being completely, I don't even know, you said it as vanishing of the House GOP majority, but to me it's worse than that. And I mean, I'm not picking out your title, but you know what I mean. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure we address the article while you're going. So go ahead, continue.
Well, it's unprecedented in the history, and I'm a student of politics, Annie, and have studied this for many years. I have never recalled a party having power and giving it up and having so many members resign. They also, in a ludicrous fashion, kicked out one of their members, George Santos, because he supposedly was a liar and got indicted. Yet Democrats would have never done that. Democrats have a guy in the Senate who was just indicted. They're not kicking him out. So Republicans are like doing this to themselves, and they're sabotaging their own majority. They haven't gotten anything done. They haven't gotten what they promised to get done. They're in the majority now, but they're hanging on by a thread. And they never impeached Biden, never did all the promises that McCarthy promised when he took power. So it's been an ineffective majority, and now they just signed another horrible spending deal, and now they're losing members at a fast clip. And if they lose these special elections that are coming up, Democrats could tie them. It's 217 to 213 right now. There are 4 special elections coming up. Let's say the Democrats win those 4, and another Republican resigns. You've got Speaker Hakeem Jeffries. And as bad as Mike Johnson is and Kevin McCarthy was, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is going to be much worse. And it seems to me some of these Republicans want that. So it's really, and that's what I outlined in my first book about the struggles within the Republican Party, the division between the establishment and the Make America Great Again. At that time, really was started by Trump. It was sort of new, but Trump really built on the Tea Party organization that I was involved in here in Louisiana, candidacies of people like Pat Buchanan from years ago, and had a little bit of Ross Perot in him, but he was someone who really touched the grassroots, and that's what these elites hate. They don't like we the people having control. They don't like we the people setting the agenda. They want to tell us what to do, Annie. They want to set the agenda, and they don't like make America great again. They don't like putting America first.
Of course, if you think about it, the whole plan, and not from Biden, from many years ago, I would go as far as, oh wow, right around the time of assassination of JFK is where I would put my money on. That's when Let's Destroy America plan started. So of course they don't want to make America great again because they worked so hard to take away our constitution, to take away our freedoms. How many attempts they had to rewrite the Constitution. And by the way, personally, I don't think our Constitution should be touched at all. But they don't want to make America great again because they have put money, investment. How many people have committed suicide for this destruction to take place? They're not going to do it. But thankfully, there are still enough brave people, maybe a handful, maybe a little more than that, because I'm still a huge fan of some of the members of our Congress who are standing up. We have very few senators who are still pushing for correction. We still have President Trump, thankfully, is still fighting back and moving forward. So all is not lost, but things are scary. We are up for our first sponsor break, so don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back and continue this discussion with Jeff Brewer.
Step 1. Cleanse with the enzyme collagen cleanser. Gently exfoliates and removes dead skin cells. Brightens and evens out skin tones. Repairs damage caused by environmental stressors. Protects skin's barrier function. Use daily for clean, smooth, glowing skin. Experience the Bella Grace Enzyme Collagen Cleanser for a refreshing start and a radiant finish.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your My Pillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
mypillow.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. Yes, make sure to go to myastore.com or mypillow.com. Use promo code AC21. You get discount, we get credit, and this way we can continue supporting the hard work of Mike Lindell, as mentioned, fighting for our election integrity, and he can use all the support we can give him. Mystore.com, mypillow.com, promo code AC21. We're joined by Jeff Brewer, and fascinating first segment, if you don't mind me saying, because again, it's good to hear the truth. But I want to kind of switch gears. It's all connected, but one of topics that I know it's my kind of passion, and I know it is also yours. Let's go to our borders. Let's talk borders. Biden's floodgate is what I have come to realize. We shouldn't call it borders because we don't really have borders, but we do have Biden regime's floodgates. It is wide open. Everybody knows about that part of it, right? I mean, everybody knows. But I feel like one of the things that they don't know is, I'm not in Texas. I'm safe. Oh, I'm not in Florida. I'm safe. Oh, I'm not in Arizona. You get what I'm saying. Oh, I'm in Midwest. They're coming through that. It's like, no, no. I don't know if you're familiar with the different groups who cover the border situation, but there was a breaking report that they put up recently, last few days ago, of showing the 200 pages of report, Jeff, on crimes committed by illegal immigrants in Chicago itself. And they have if you look at that, they have the report attached on this article. But when you go through, I didn't go through the entire 200, I'm not going to lie. I went through a good chunk of it, and it's detailed. I mean, literally, it has name of the person, what kind of crime they committed, when was the date, all of that. And when you look at this, Chicago only, and I would say it's safe to say Chicago is pretty far from the floodgate, right? But you look at these reports: assault, battery, bodily harm, gun. It is disturbing to look at how much of Chicago crime rate that we hear about. Now, we hear about the crime rate, but Jeff, we don't hear about who's committing these crimes, right? We only hear about guns bad, guns bad, guns bad. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that you're right, Annie. That's the narrative. It's like the guns are committing the crimes, not the individual pulling the trigger. A car can be used to kill people. A car can also be used to save lives by getting a person to the hospital. A gun can be used to kill people, but a gun can also be used to save lives if you're being attacked. So I think the more people that we have utilizing the Second Amendment, the safer we're going to be. As you notice, all of these mass attacks occur in gun-free zones. And that's where these cowardly criminals, mass murderers, go. The situation at the border, you outlined it very well. It is now 50 states that are border states, not just Texas, New Mexico, California, and Arizona. It's really the entire country. We're here in Louisiana, so we're one state over from Texas. There's a city outside of New Orleans called Kenner. And I interviewed on my radio show the police chief, who was saying that he can't keep up with the number of illegals that are in Kenner. One of the problems is that they have no records. So he can't do any background checks. He can't do any investigations. He doesn't know who these people are. And we just had a 14-year-old girl raped and a 25-year-old man stabbed in the face by this same illegal from Honduras who was in Kenner. And the police chief is lamenting the Biden administration policy because it's putting a strain on his resources. We just had an emergency order issued by our governor because we don't have enough law enforcement in Louisiana, Annie. We are thousands of officers short of where we need to be as far as law enforcement. At the same time, we're being flooded with illegals, many of them carrying weapons, many of them bringing drugs and committing crimes. So it is a really uncomfortable situation for the people of Louisiana now due to the demonization of the police. It happened after George Floyd, all the targeting of police. So many people left the police. We've been hearing from the liberals that want to defund the police, and it really worked. And so many people have really decided not to become law enforcement officers. And that is occurring at the wrong time because we now have more criminals coming into our state due to all of this illegal immigration. So that's just us here. Imagine how bad it is in Texas and in Arizona, New Mexico, and California, and all these other states. And I know Chicago and New York, and it's a countrywide problem. And the person to blame for this, Annie, is Joe Biden. He destroyed all the good policies that Donald Trump had. Remain in Mexico. He stopped the border wall. He reinstituted catch and release. And he said he was honored to have people come here illegally. He wanted to make sure they came here. He rolled out the red carpet, put out the welcome mat. They came. And they came from 174 nations. Now, Annie, the question is how many? I've heard estimates of up to 15, 16 million that have come in here since Joe Biden became president. But even if it's 12 million or 10 million, that's double the size of the state of Louisiana, because we only have 4.6 million, supposedly. Who knows how many we have now with the illegals. So it's a beyond a crisis, and Joe Biden engineered the whole thing, Annie.
Agreed. And Jeff, one of the things that you pointed is, they started the defund the police charade. I call it a charade. They're mostly peaceful protests, destroying half of the cities. I can't help but to think that was the start. They started this so we would not be able to deal with the situation. Now, I understand. I interviewed one of my favorite border reporters, Hernando RC, where he actually mentioned he has a video that shows these illegals come right through Texas. From there, they are handed tickets to Chicago or New York or California, different areas in California, handed tickets for free to get on a plane or on a train and go. So they are doing that part, absolutely. But then, as you said, when it comes to our own towns and how this open border is affecting our lives in our small towns or big cities, that part, every city, every state is short on police officers, because rightfully so. I don't blame anyone who walked or who's not willing to become a police officer in the United States of America anymore. But they had to start that. That was part of the plan. And again, sometimes, Jeff, me and you, we sound like, oh, you're all about conspiracy, which recently we're running out of conspiracies because they're all becoming, reality.
Right.
But it's not a conspiracy. Biden himself, everyone involved with his regime that they called administration, one pen could have stopped this. That very pen is the pen that flew more than 60,000 Afghans, without knowing if they're Afghans or not, right into the country, put them in military bases, open the door and say, welcome to U.S. By the way, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your name is. I don't even know what your age is, but welcome to U.S. Months later, 134 of them so far are connected to Taliban. Really? How many of the border that are coming to help of cartel members, IRGC and Hamas and ISIS? How many of them? It's the danger, as you said. The danger has spread across the country, and I don't see the outrage. I don't.
Yeah, there needs to be more. I think it's building, but there needs to be a lot more. I saw a poll just today that the top issues in the campaign are the economy and inflation and illegal immigration. So these are issues that more and more Americans, I think, are finally getting really focused on. And these are issues where Joe Biden is terrible. And, he's destroyed the economy and created this illegal immigration disaster. So I think we're getting there, cluing in the American people. I think they're seeing it in their neighborhoods all over the country. They're seeing the influx in the big cities. They're hearing on the news about these crimes being committed. Laken Riley is the horrible example occurring in the great state of Georgia. Then Biden gets up and gets her name wrong, then apologizes for calling the killer an illegal. I mean, come on, that is obscene. He didn't apologize for getting her name wrong. And he's just so inappropriate. He's so misdirected. He's so harmful to this country. The numbers of people that have come in here that are called gotaways, Annie, is what I'm worried about. So the people that are not processed, that get in and are then go who knows where. We don't know what kind of affiliation they have. We don't know what they're carrying. We don't know who they're taking orders from. We got Chinese nationals. We got people that I think are surely connected to Islamic terrorist groups. Possibly the Mexican drug cartel has got all kinds of affiliates all over this country, sleeper cells. Yet the FBI and the Department of Justice seem to be focused on getting grandma in jail, who was at January 6th with a phone and taking pictures of the Capitol. And they want to make sure that she goes to prison. Yet we've get this massive influx of millions of illegals that should be the top priority. Yet it seems like January 6th is still the top priority. And
Very true. And I'm glad you brought up that point, that very short half a second moment that he dedicated to this little tiny pin that you couldn't see, got the name wrong, and then apologized because he should have said illegal. But his excuse was what I could feel my face burning when I was hearing this, of like, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of people are killed every year in hands of legals. Okay, first of all, crime happens everywhere. Nobody's denying that. But the difference is those citizens, legals in America who are committing any kind of crime, first of all, they face justice because we know who they are, because they're legal. So we have their social security number, date of birth, address, last paycheck. Maybe once in a while, one might get away with. But when illegals commit those, the first step is, who was he or who was she? Can we even get a hold of them? And when we do, we deport them. Next there, they're back in. But in America, when we get an American, they go to jail, and guess what? They stay in jail. So chances of them coming back and committing a crime again, kind of sort of at least few years depend on their sentence. Does he really not understand the difference of imported criminals versus criminals who are caught serving sentences, facing justice? Does he not understand it? Or is this another narrative to just, whitewash the problem?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I think he's mentally incompetent. I mean, I don't know what he really understands, Annie, because I think he's losing it. Any speech that he gives these days, I mean, filled with flubs and mistakes and slurring and a hard time even communicating. So I don't think he's all there. So possibly he doesn't really understand things, but he's also, what he does know is he's got to placate the far left in the Democratic Party. He's got to make sure that they're energized and they come out and support him. So he can't say illegal because they got upset with that. So he had to correct that, but he certainly didn't need to correct the name of the young woman that was killed. Notice how he's acted on the whole Israel-Hamas situation. He's trying to make sure that the left radicals are not completely upset with him, walk a line between supporting Israel and supporting Hamas. And he's done a horrible job in this whole conflict. And I think he feels pressure from the far left within his party to keep them energized, because he knows that they're his foot soldiers to go out and win, quote unquote, win another 4 years in office. So he was sold to us, Annie, if you remember the election of 2020, as a moderate guy. Oh, Joe Biden, Mr. Moderate. He's an average guy, working class Joe. He's going to support the middle class. He's going to be much more moderate than Bernie. So we got to get behind Joe. I think he's been just as left-wing as Bernie Sanders would have been. I mean, I think he's been just as progressive and as socialist and as horrific as Bernie Sanders. In fact, I think Bernie Sanders might not even have been as bad as Joe Biden has been. So that's the Democrat Party today. The old Democrat Party where we had JFK and Scoop Jackson and people that were Harry Truman, somewhat moderate, conservative on some issues, they're gone. I mean, it's all been turned over to the far, far, far left, Annie. And that's what we got today.
Agreed. And again, it's kind of that feeling of, is it far left? Is it far right? Is it middle? Are there even two parties left anymore? Because I can't help but to believe there is one party. We can call whatever we want to call. But to me, the nation, United States of America, is split exactly in half. There are the Americans, and then they are the anti-Americans. End of the story. I don't see it any other way. Because, I mean, we call them rhinos, right? What are they doing? Helping destroy America. What are they doing? Putting Americans last. So I just don't feel like that party label applies anymore. It's just Americans, anti-Americans. And it's not even America involved anymore. It's Americans versus non-Americans.
You make a good point. I was hoping Donald Trump would have started his own party and called it the Patriot Party or something to tap into the Make America Great Again agenda. But he stayed Republican. And you're right. I mean, the rhinos do the bidding of the Democrats and the Uniparty. And they're all about the deep state. So we're all about America, trying to put America first and rebuild our country and get jobs back and businesses back. And they're about never-ending wars and globalism and open borders and growing government and increasing taxes, and increasing regulations, and all this Green New Deal craziness and EVs and kowtowing to China. So you're right. I mean, it is sort of the establishment of both parties. And then you've got this little wing within the Republican Party up there, these fighters, Freedom Caucus members, but they're not many. But they represent a huge number of Americans like us that we don't have representation in Congress. That's the problem. We don't have people up there fighting for us and what the American people want, Annie.
Very much true. Okay, I promise last question on border, and then we're going to switch gears to what I don't know much about, you know a lot about. But Kamala Harris, border was supposed to be her thing. Where is she? I mean, forget about going to border, but generally, is she MIA? Like, where's Kamala? Kamala, what happened to her?
She was given all the jobs that I think Biden wanted to sort of have fail, so that she would look like a failure. I think he considers her his insurance policy. So the worse she is, the more people will say, well, we got to keep Joe. We can't let Kamala Harris be president because she's even worse. So everything he's given her to do, she's been a spectacular failure. She's a joke as far as the border. She hasn't done anything. She's the border czar. She spouted the lies, Annie, that the border's secure. She is an embarrassment. She was just making a trip where she embarrassed herself and didn't know what the folks were singing. And she was singing along, and it was actually a song making fun of her. And she got caught, and she's always doing these word salads where she says a whole bunch of nothing. And she's incredibly incompetent, but she matches that, Annie, with a far left agenda that the far left activists in the Democrat Party want her to spout. So that's what she does. And, she's an incompetent vice president. She's terrible. We've got the worst president, the worst vice president in American history combined together. So we're really in a fix with these two. I can't think of one thing that Joe Biden has done well, or one thing that Kamala Harris has done well. Not one.
Aside helping destroy America, they have definitely failed in other departments. And I agree, sometimes I can't help to think, even leftists, even anyone, if you're an American, how can you be okay watching this all happen? This is United States of America. We used to be it. Being the vice president used to be this really prestigious, heavily responsible position to have, an honor. Or being the commander-in-chief, president of the United States of America, like, you had to have requirements. Like, you had to have the charisma and the style and the fashion and the ability. And then I'm like looking at Kamala and Biden. I'm like, I don't know these people. I'm American, but I'm looking for an island where I can escape. The fact that this is all okay, even everybody knows I'm an anti-Obama all the way, but at least Obama knew how to talk. Obama could follow teleprompter and give us a good press release and answer a couple of questions, even though every time he moved his mouth it was a lie. But at least we had that. But with this combination of these two next to each other, it is a cartoon. It's tragically hilarious. But
You're exactly,
we're gonna take.
Exactly right. You're exactly right. Obama was good. He could communicate. He was, and so was Bill Clinton. A good communicator, a good liar, smooth. Joe Biden, I mean, he can't give a speech to save his life. I mean, he can't get through a speech without stumbling.
I mean, he can't even get on a stage without getting lost on the stage. Sadly.
That's right.
And honestly, I'm not being mean. It's just the reality of our life today. Right.
Yeah, and
okay.
he is.
We're gonna.
He's a danger to himself and to our country, because he could fall at any moment and break his hip, and we'd be in a fix. He's 81 years old, but he's in a very frail mental and physical condition, and that worries me, because he's our commander in chief.
Oh, may Lord have mercy on all of us and our beautiful nation. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back to finish the segment with tapping into Jeff Crouer's expertise on Biden's economy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Step 2. Treat. With the Dewy Serum. Deeply hydrates and locks in moisture. Protects from free radical damage. Targets multiple signs of aging. Boosts microcirculation. Revealing a youthful, radiant, dewy complexion. Dewy Serum goes beyond ordinary skincare, leading you to a realm of glowing, rejuvenated beauty.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm still smiling from the end of the discussion on last segment. But yes, CyrusGrace.com. Cyrus, my last name, CyrusGrace.com. You get 10% discount on your subscription, grabbing any of the items that are available. And again, you get discount, and portion of your purchase will be coming back to Live Up to Freedom production costs. We are joined by Jeff Crouer discussing all things disastrous of a Biden regime. I think I'm going to laugh about the last 30 seconds of last segment. It is sad. But, you know, to top it all off, because he's doing such a fantastic job, his entire administration are doing, so he signed budget, another trillion, I think 1.2 or 1.3 trillion dollar. We're all going to be so good. I know you have a lot to say about it, and I have billions of questions about it, but I came across this video or audio from Representative Andy Biggs, and I can't help but to think, like, why couldn't they do what he said? Let's take a listen or take a look at what he said, and then we're going to open that can of worms.
He lost his leverage when on day one he said, we will never have a government shutdown. Because if you're afraid that you might have a government shutdown or a partial shutdown and I told him you can have a managed shutdown. You actually can have a managed shutdown. That's what you should do. You should have a managed shutdown, take care of what we have to take care of, let the other, the non-essentials kind of go by the wayside, protect the country, and then you would have actually, that's a twofer. You bend the spending pike down, the curve down, and you also can leverage that to get border enforcement, for instance. But he didn't do that. He took away his own leverage. And Republicans are known for that.
What say you about what he said, Jeff?
I like the representative. I mean, he's one of the fighters up there, and he's exactly right. Republicans are known for backing down. Republicans are known for folding their tent. Republicans are known for not standing up for their principles and taking on the Democrats. They're too worried about their D.C. Cocktail circuit. They want to have friends in the media and the Democrats. They want to be nice guys. So they cut these deals, and the real losers are the American people. They're us. So we have a budget deal. When you combine what was passed a few months ago with what was passed the other day, $1.7 trillion. And of course, Biden goes out there and says that he's cutting the debt which is a lie. He says he's cutting the debt by 1.7 trillion when we're adding to it constantly. Just a little review of the numbers, Annie. When Biden started as president, we had a federal budget deficit of about 27.8 trillion approximately. He has added close to $7 trillion to the national debt. We're 34 trillion, knocking on the door 35 trillion. So he's going to add more to the debt than President Trump did. He's not fiscally responsible. And that, of course, is one of the reasons why we have inflation in our country today, because we're spending money that we don't have. And we're devaluing our currency. And thus the American people are in a fix because inflation is higher than their salaries and they're falling behind. They're putting it on their credit card and they're increasing their credit card debt. And guess what? Interest rates are still high. Interest rates haven't come down. They haven't cut interest rates. So those out there trying to buy a home, those out there trying to realize the American dream are having a very difficult time because of where mortgage rates are right now, because of where credit card debt is now, because of where the economy is now. So that's Biden inflation, that's Bidenomics, and it's a disaster for the country, Annie, a disaster.
It is. And just to make sure to give, I didn't realize it wasn't named. I do believe Representative Biggs is referring to Speaker Johnson. Just for the record, this isn't about Biden. He is referring to Johnson, the very good boy, the quiet Christian conservative guy that everybody's like, ooh, and I was one of the very few people who said, there's something about him is not setting right. And there you have it. He botched. Like many other times, like many other speakers.
I want to give you credit for calling it out. You were right. He has folded time and time again. And Andy Biggs is right. He should have said from the beginning, we might very well have a government shutdown. You know, that's on the table. If we don't get what we need, we're going to have a government shutdown. We're going to have to deal with it. But he says we're not going to have that. So he takes that off the table. That's his trump card. So he goes into a negotiation with Chuck Schumer very weakened. So we get a deal that Chuck Schumer, the Democrats, and Biden loves. But those of us that sent these Republicans up to Congress, we hate it because it doesn't do anything that we want. It doesn't accomplish any of our goals, doesn't follow our principles. So we always come out on the losing end of these deals each and every time. So he's no better than McCarthy, who was also doing deals with the Democrats. We got rid of McCarthy because of it. Now we're at such a weakened level. If they get rid of Johnson, we could very well get Hakeem Jeffries. So it could go from terrible to catastrophic. So we're really in a bad place as far as our congressional leadership goes. We need new leadership. Mitch McConnell is just an absolute disaster. And we need a fighter as speaker, and we just don't have it. We don't have it. And we've got a fighter as our presidential candidate, Donald Trump. He's a fighter. But we don't have it in Congress. We don't have it in other parts of the Republican Party. And that's why I think the Democrats always seem to be victorious, because they fight for their left-wing socialist principles, and we don't fight for our conservative principles.
You know, I think part of it, and this is controversial, if you want to detach yourself from this statement, feel free to do that, Jeff. But I think the concept of left versus right, in the real meaning, not the mixed meaning, I have noticed people on the left, from average voters to those in, local, state, federal, they vote with their money, with their hands, with their words, with their actions. Our side votes with nada. We just show up once and vote and go home. It's too inconvenient. Oh, Target is close by though. I go get my stuff. It's okay if they have it all mixed up, made up gender bathroom. That's okay. I don't use the bathroom. You see where I'm going with this? I think that's why we're struggling where we're struggling. We don't stand by our values. We go with, and I understand most conservatives are busy raising family, having jobs. Listen, I have 3 jobs. and I do 2 hours a week broadcasting. But there's always a way to do the right thing. Stand by your values. Don't go out there doing the opposite of what you should stand for. And stop voting. And this comes from, I am a follower of Christ myself, but stop voting just because somebody is citing a couple of biblical verses. That doesn't make him a Christian. Stop it. Sorry, go ahead, yours.
I think you make a very interesting point, and that is to the left. This is very important to them. I mean, they put a lot into it as far as their time, their money, their effort, and they invest a lot. That's why you see they're very passionate. I mean, they hate Donald Trump. That drives them. That hatred fuels them. I mean, they would get up at 3 a.m. and drive 100 miles if they had to. Because they're so passionate. And we've got some like that, but we have too many that, as you say, if the going get tough, they get going. And they get going the wrong way. They get out of here. So they don't want to fight the fight. They don't want to sacrifice. And that's what it takes, really, to save our country. We're going to have to sacrifice. We're going to have to put everything on the line in this upcoming year to make sure that we have victory. That's why November 5th, 2024 is the most important day in American history, whether we're going to have a republic or a dictatorship. And that people have to really make this a priority in their lives and do whatever we can do to ensure victory. And there are too many that are cafeteria, conservatives, convenient conservatives, not really, taking this as seriously as they should. And I see it as literally our country at stake. I mean, I'm worried about future generations. I'm worried about how we're going to survive any more of this. I think it's been so utterly destructive for our country. And I'm hopeful, Annie, that because of programs like yours and the work you're doing and so many other people are doing, that maybe we are starting to see more and more people get plugged in, because we're running out of time. This is it. This is it. This is for all the marbles. This is for our country, this election. If Biden retains the White House, and let's say the Democrats take control of Congress, which could very well happen, we've got to contemplate a very, very unpleasant future for our country.
Yes, this is where Jeff Cruer's book comes in. America's Last Chance, like genuinely word by word applies, ladies and gentlemen. Get the book and then stay tuned for sequence coming soon. But America's Last Chance has a whole new meanings today. And I can't even imagine for a lot of people. I've been in America for 21 years of my life, which has been a blessing. But I'll look back, I'm like, this is not America I came to, for sure. And that's only 21 years. I can't even imagine how someone like you must feel, Jeff. You're like, you were born here. You're like watching it all go. You're like, no, last chance. Genuine. This is the last call, last chance. Take it serious. But back to the budget. I don't know much about, as I said, I know very little. I try to learn about it and study, but I scanned through the bullet points that, I believe it was White House put it out or somewhere right before Biden signing it. And I saw the bullet points, affordable housing, for example. And I'm sitting here, I'm a renter myself. I'm like, what do you mean affordable? Because I'm sure where I'm at, where location-wise, house-wise, this would have been about a good $900 a month less last year. Last year, not even 2 years ago. Last year, the price was $900 less. And then they talk about affordable education, right? Because we're moving toward free education. Let's forgive all the loans in public schools. And then I saw an article that proves this being lie, because now Boston public school parents are being informed that, well, there's budget cuts coming. What kind of better or free or affordable public school or public education are we offering that we're already telling parents, hey, budget cut? And I don't even know what those budget cuts are. And I'm pretty sure Boston isn't the only city in America facing this. So you are the expert. You know way more about these budgets and how they work. How much of this 1.7 trillion do you think is not going towards making life better for Americans?
I think this is not going to make life better for Americans. I think very little of it is going to make life better for Americans. I think it's going to make life tougher for Americans. And you pointed out your rent, people's rent all over the country going up. My mortgage going way up, Annie. And it's all over the country that we see this. And, they say, oh, well, we're working to, lift up the lower class, expand the middle class. That's what he keeps saying over and over. And, we're going to focus on tax increases just for those making over $400,000. You know what's a tax increase, Annie? Inflation. Inflation is the cruelest tax of them all because it's a tax on the working class. It's a tax on people that work paycheck to paycheck. And you know what's happening in this country today because people can't afford things? Suicides are up. Drug overdoses are up. Bankruptcies are up. I have a gentleman on my program every week who's a lawyer who specializes in bankruptcies. He can't handle the business. He can't handle all the people that are coming into his office needing help with their debt, with the foreclosures that are coming his way. That is happening all over the country due to Bidenomics, due to what this man has been doing to the country. So the media talks about how things are improving. I think that's a big lie. I think there is a lot of unease and anxiety across the country today because of these policies. This budget is not going to solve anything. Government is not the answer to our problems. Ronald Reagan had it best. The best government is the least government. Get government out of the way so the private sector, so the American people can flourish. You cut taxes, you cut regulation, which is what Trump did. That's why I think the economy was doing so well before COVID hit. He cut more regulations than anybody. He cut taxes, massive tax cuts. And Biden has gone in the opposite direction. So, yeah, this is just more of the same, and it's going to lead to more misery because I just looked at the report, Annie. Looks like inflation is now coming back. Looks like interest rates are not going to get cut. So we're not going to see, any improvement really in the economy before the election. So Biden is going to try to win the election on three things. January 6th, Trump is Hitler, and abortion. And those are going to be the issues that he's going to try to win the election on. He can't win it on the economy because it's such a disaster.
Agreed. And I just want to add something. Hopefully, I'm not too far incorrect on this, but I just want to tell fellow Americans out there who think actually housing market is getting better because the prices on houses are dropping. It's not because economy is getting better. It's not because inflation isn't there. It's because people can't afford their mortgages. They need to get rid of the house ASAP. So they're breaking the price. They're selling it for less to get out. Know the difference. This has nothing to do with Biden. This is Biden creating such a disastrous economy for average American families who cannot afford their mortgage or their home insurance that has gone up to $6,000 a year. So they're selling for low price to get out before they have to either file bankruptcy or lose the house and lose their credit. So am I right there, Jeff?
Oh, and I want to just hit on something you just said, insurance. Here in Louisiana and across the Gulf Coast, Florida, states that have been hit by hurricanes in recent years, insurance costs are just through the roof. So people are paying more and more for automobile insurance, for homeowners insurance. And that is another factor that's hitting them at the same time. Interest rates are up and Bidenomics is creating this inflation. So it's another reason why I think people's purchasing power isn't what it used to be. The real wages are going down because they're not keeping up with all these costs, all these increases that are coming their way. That's why some, as you say, are they can't afford. I mean, there are houses here where the insurance is $20,000 a year, Annie. It's just off the charts and they can't afford it. So they're having to dump the houses and they're having to reduce the prices because they can't get the price that they want. That shows the weakness in the market, not the strength in the market.
Exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Cruer, host of Ringside Politics. You can find him on cruer.net. He's also on X. And his book, America's Last Chance. Grab a copy and keep your eyes as the second one will be coming in. For sure, we're going to have him on as soon as that one is released. Jeff, as always, honor and privilege. I am grateful for your wisdom and your time. Look forward to having you back on.
Annie, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And to our lovely audience, remember, we always need your support. Go to liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com. Grab the videos, articles, or radio, whatever you see there. Just spread the message, share the message. If you like to support the program, you can support our sponsors, all available on liveuptofreedom.com, including my art studio, where you can pick up my handmade, customized resin art. We got to go for today, but I'll look forward to seeing you the next time. In meantime, stay safe, stay vigilant. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Good night.